Hi, Joe Cerrone.
And Alan Rosen.
Welcome to CAD 116 and our weekly Zoom classroom meeting. Okay, so in our main splash page, we put an announcement here for the midterm practice exam. The midterm practice exam is available in quizzes and exams with the unlimited attempts. And the midterm will be on November 7th. And we'll use HonorLock. And HonorLock is a proctoring software. You can get the information here about HonorLock by clicking on this link. And essentially, it's a proctoring software where they request that you use a webcam and that you have an ID, and you basically launch the exam just like you normally would in our class. And so when you're taking the exam next week, you will have a link in the quizzes and exams for the midterm. Okay, it'll look just like this, but it'll have like a little symbol that says it's an HonorLock, and that will take you to the HonorLock portal. And then what you will do is you will be able to take that exam. You need to use Chrome when you take the exam because their proctoring software uses Chrome. But they do have support, and so you're welcome to take a look at the HonorLock site. There is a fee. It's about $10. I've got to double check with it. And you can either sign up for one exam or you can sign up for an unlimited per semester. And it used to be $8 for one exam and $10 for unlimited, and I'll check on that. So that's next week. And what you will do is you will take that and we'll have that active for a whole week, starting at our normal time at 9 o'clock. And so Al and I will be available for support for students that are getting that rolling, and that will then be due the following week, and we'll put that in the announcements. Continuing on, the Module 7 has been released, and Module 7 is on dimensioning and dimensioning styles. And so I made a couple of new videos to cover the learning objectives and the chapter assignments. Dimensioning is an area that AutoCAD does very well because it does a good job of dimensioning mechanical drawings as well as architectural drawings. It might be a little stronger with architectural drawings as we get farther down the line with it because it has a lot of artistic elements that you can incorporate into the drawing, like hatch patterns, colors, and styles like that. So getting things to look right on the paper is one of AutoCAD's attributes that works really well. And we want to make our assignments or complete our assignments, and so that we're having a mechanical and an architectural drawing. If we take a look at the content area, here's our outline of topics so we can stay on task. And so as we progress through the course, here we are on October 31st. We're covering Chapter 28 and Chapter 9 from the textbook. And then our green CAD drawing assignment is Module 7. And then the quiz is located in quizzes and exams for Module 7. And then next week we'll cover the midterm exam. And then following that, you can see how we're going to roll things out. Module 7 covers dimensioning and dimensioning styles and the learning objectives for that. If we take a look at our textbook and we look at Chapter 27, dimensioning, the learning objectives are to be able to use the dim command and then to use dim linear, dim continuous, and angular dimensions. And I've gone through this, and so rather than go through it again, I'll highlight some of the things that I think we need to be able to do. And so as we look at these different drawings, you have either the mechanical drawing or the architectural drawing, and you can pick one or the other. And then there are videos for how to create those. And so here's the Mech Lab video. And so we'll go through how to create these mechanical dimensions. And then we have our architectural lab video. And in the Arc Lab, looks like it's queued up a little farther. It's a little bit more work in the Arc Lab because you'll have to draw the object completely, and the Mech Lab is given to you. But it's different when we apply architectural or mechanical dimensions. And so as we go through and we create the differences is essentially in the scale of the size of the drawings that we are working on. And so when we work with architectural drawings, things are bigger, big as a house. Okay, so you're looking at something that's much bigger compared to a mechanical part, which is something that would fit on an 11 by 17 sheet of paper. So the scale factors are different as you work with them. And as we go through and we work with these different drawings, what we'll do is we'll download the mechanical lab. And so here's our mechanical lab right here. And then we can download the student file. And we can open that. And then we can place the dimensions on that. And so we can go to our linear dimensions, and we want to use O snaps when we dimension, because if you don't, you won't get an accurate dimension. And then we want to use like the endpoints of this center line. Try that again, linear. And then we can place that dimension on the drawing. And then we can add things like radial dimensions. So we can put the radius on here. We could add diameter dimensions. And if you use the Smart Dimension tool, it will actually recognize the feature and then recognize that it's a diameter, and it'll put the diameter symbol on there for you. So as we go through and we work with these different drawings, we can put the mechanical dimensions on there, and then we can add a title block to that. If I go to the Layout tab and I say from template, and then I want to add a template, I usually have some in my downloads. So here's a mechanical, and you want to stick with the mechanical on the mechanical drawings. In other words, don't put the architectural drawing on a mechanical drawing because the settings are different. And so as we look at placing this on the title block, we want to put the part into the viewport, and then we want to scale it. We'll start off with 100% 1:1, and it's kind of big, it doesn't fit, and so we can dial that down to half scale. And then we can lock that in place. And then as we create these other dimensions on here, we will be able to go through and to put the information that's required to be able to make this drawing. And that's really what it's about. We want to be able to manufacture this part, and to be able to do that, we need things like size and location dimensions on the drawing. Make sure that you update the title block, lab number, student name, and then put the scale in. If we look at the architectural drawing, on the architectural drawing, we're going to create the dimensions and the dimension styles for that. And again, the units and things are slightly different. And so when we work with dimensioning, we're going to be working with this annotation tab and then the dimension style manager, which will allow us to then set up the dimension styles. And we have the dimension styles already set in our dimension title block. And so if I were to open my title block, and if we take the architectural title block and open that, what we'll notice is that the units are set for architectural units. And then when we dimension things in the dimension styles, the dimension styles are set. And so we have a dimension style for 1/8 of an inch equals a foot, 1/4 of an inch equals a foot. And on those dimension styles, we have the dimension scale factor set. And so that's what allows us to see the dimensions at the proper proportions. And so when we work with architectural drawings, if I was to work with an architectural dimension style like this one at 1/4 of an inch equals a foot, and if I were to go to model space and draw like a door, let's say it's 6 feet 8 inches tall. Notice I'm using direct distance, and that's with the polar button. And then if I make it a 3-foot door for the width, and then I can kind of come down here. And then as we get better, we can do things like object tracking, where I can swipe things, and I don't have to necessarily input the dimensions every time. And then make sure that you put your dimensions on the dimension layer. And then if I go to the annotate tab, I'm using the 1/4 of an inch to 1. And then when I select my dimension, I'll get the dimension and the dimension scale factor properly set. Now if the dimension is too big, I can go into dimension, and I like to type in the commands. If you're on a Mac system or a different operating system, knowing the commands can save you a lot of time because it's faster to type them in. And I could modify this, and I could say, okay, that's too big. Let's set this down to 24, and we'll OK that. We'll set that current and close it, and that'll be a little bit more reasonable as far as the size goes. And then we can put that on our title block page, where we can go and annotate and set up the scale for that. And so we could say, let's say 1 inch equals a foot. And then if I was to go through and tweak the dimension settings, we can continue to work with that. Always lock your viewports, and always update your title block information. Alrighty, so our assignments this week are to create this door geometry and to create the dimensions, place it on the title block, update the title block, and set the scale in the viewport for either the architectural or the mechanical drawing. And here's the mechanical drawing here. You can download the student version and add that information to it. Back to the main splash page. Remember, next week is the midterm, and so we will be available to show you how to get that started. But that will basically be multiple choice exam and one hands-on drawing that you'll be able to choose either an architectural or a mechanical drawing. And then we'll use the HonorLock software to make sure that everybody is who they say they are when we're taking these courses online and remotely. Al, is there anything else that we want to talk about before I end the Zoom meeting and open things up for questions?
No, not at this time.
Alrighty, remember, if you do need some additional assistance, you can always email us. We're on campus quite a bit over at the Skokie campus. We're there on Sunday mornings, 9 a.m. till 12, and I'm there on Wednesdays and Saturdays also. With that, I'm going to stop the recording and open things up for questions.